Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Thursday, the 31st of August. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm pleased to say we're joined for the first time in a while by Jonny McFarlane. How are we doing, Jonny?
Good, Derek. I wish we had a more positive game to talk about this morning, but clearly we don't, so we just have to get stuck in.
We certainly do, and the comments are racking up already, as we'll get to as many of them as possible. It was a sobering evening last night in Eindhoven. Rangers demolished pretty much by PSV Eindhoven to lose 7-3 on aggregate. It finished 5-1 on the night. They were really blown away by their Dutch opponents. I don't think we can have too many complaints about the team that progressed to the Champions League group stages. It's the first time in 5 years that they will progress. Rangers were, I think, started brightly, Jonny, but then regressed. I think PSV then started to exert a bit of dominance on the game. Ismail Saibari, who was absolutely tremendous, you've got to say, opened the scoring with a goal that split the Rangers defence open. It's a goal we've seen many times before, where players that are failing to track runners, the ball's cut back, and he's not the ball past Jack Butland in the Rangers goal. He added the second 8 minutes after half-time. I thought there might have been changes at half-time. I thought the game was only going one way. However, no changes were made until after that second goal was scored. James Tavernier added a bit of hope on 64 minutes. Well-worked goal. It's fair to say the substitute Sam Lammers rifled the ball across the face of goal, and there was Tavernier at the back post. However, that hope lasted all of 90 seconds. A set-piece goal. We discussed this at length heading into the game, how Rangers had to be wise to set pieces, but they failed to track Luke de Jong, who nodded past Butland, and that was pretty much that. Joey Veerman added goal number 4, and then Connor Goldson with an own goal, one he won't want to see ever again, rounded things off at 5-1. Jonny, your reflections after watching that last night? Certainly,
well,
a whole heap of questions being posed now ahead of the big game on Sunday.
Yeah, first of all, what I would say is I'm not too downbeat, and I'll tell you why. I just think PSV are a much better side than Rangers. Now, we can talk about the financial differences. I think over the last 5 years, they've made £37 million more or something like that. So it's not a huge amount in terms of the revenues that they're bringing in. But these guys spend big on transfers. There's no doubt about that. You know, I think 3 players this season have been €10 million or over. And they've clearly got just a fantastic team. You look at players like Sangare. I mean, he's clearly on another level of anyone that's playing in Scotland. Saibari, if you're basing it on last night, he looks like another level. But Sangare, we know because we saw him last time.
Yeah.
So, and they're not the only ones. I mean, Luke de Jong came to Scotland, he would be terrific. You know that. He'd actually be kind of like the ideal centre forward for what Rangers need. Someone who can hold up the ball, who's a threat in the air, physical. PSV are a good bit ahead of Rangers. And that to me was completely obvious in the game over 2 legs. I thought they were the better side at Ibrox. Rangers hung in well and punished them on the break. But last night, it was just a dominant PSV performance. And that's just the reality of this. There was a gap. This is not a Michael Beale error-strewn managerial performance. There may be things in it that he could have done better, but I think if you play PSV at home and you're this Rangers squad against that PSV squad 10 times, how many times do you win if you change it every time? I don't think it's that much. Rangers have got a long way to go. I think what's clear, Derek, to me at this point is I think many of us have kind of been sold a pup, and it's probably on us that we've been sold a pup, thinking that this squad could be pulled together and gelled together so quickly. We're talking 9 players have come in. We know there's more to come. And it's just not realistic to expect the team to come together at a pace that I think would have got them through a team like PSV. It's disappointing. It's a blow in terms of the finances, because I know that it would have been £8 or £9 million extra on the kitty. But I think you just have to be realistic about the challenge ahead. Now, I know I'm being quite balanced about it, and there's people who will be very angry, who will be telling me in the comments I'm a beep. I don't think there's any of these excuses when they face Celtic at Ibrox on Sunday. So, guys, what I would say is if you're angry right now and you feel like I'm making excuses, well, I would say that I disagree. I think there's extenuating circumstances to a lot of what's happened last night. But come Sunday, I think it's different. I think Sunday, there's an expectation that Celtic are going through similar problems in terms of gelling new signings, gelling a new style of play. And then there won't be that kind of extenuating sense that is coming from me on this one. Derek, what I would say is I think Michael Beale has to quickly get on top of silly goals. 7 goals across 2 games is quite a lot. Sangari and people like that, as I've said, top players. But it doesn't excuse them being able to waltz in and out of the box at will and, cause so many problems on the back of just basic stuff. Rangers failing to track runners. Let's look at the goals, mate. Look at the goals. I mean, you tell me, Derek, because I'm now in a monologue. How many of those 5 goals are preventable?
Well, I noted the Luke de Jong set piece. How is Sam Lammers picking him up? If that is zonal marking, I've said it many times, it needs rectified pronto because it is not working at this moment in time. And I've seen somebody messaged me last night when Michael Beale, of course, was first being touted for the Rangers job when he was at QPR, and I spoke to a podcaster down there, and they were having major problems defending set pieces. So I don't think it's any coincidence. It needs rectified immediately because Rangers are losing sloppy goals, cheap goals, Jonny, that they can't afford to be losing. It's easily preventable.
Yeah. Let's talk about the first goal. That's good play by PSV, okay? They were
relentless. If Rangers scored that, you're delighted with the movement.
Exactly. These a relentless level of pressure. They'd had a couple of chances in the moments previous. They kept it going. It's good play. Now, of course, you're pushing people down the side. There's a lack of communication between Cifuentes and Tavernier. These things are preventable. These are things that would anger a manager. But Cifuentes is also just in the door. I don't think Cifuentes speaks great English either. So that's the kind of stuff that comes as a team gels over time. So I'm going to give them a pass on the first goal. The second goal, I think, is a bit different. You're talking about a decent hanging cross to the back post. Why is Luke de Jong allowed to drift over to James Tavernier, who we all know is much better? He's much better in the air than. Why is Connor Goldson not going over? That's his side.
Yeah.
Now, there might be a reason for that. Josh would be maybe coming on here and telling me that I'm talking nonsense. But I've looked at that goal several times, and you're just like, why are Rangers allowing themselves to get in a situation where it's Luke de Jong versus James Tavernier to nod the ball down to what is basically an open goal? And by the way, in terms of Saibari, John Souttar's all over the place there. He's allowed the ball to go over his head. He's switched off, he's turned around, and he's let the boy go. And there's about 4 or 5 yards between them. So that's terrible defending. So that second goal for me, really bad defending. Third goal, as you say, Derek, I don't need to add anymore. You've nailed it. Appalling. What is going on in the marking at that set play? No one's got De Jong. So does Lammers... The thing is, there's 2 players in front of Lammers, and Lammers starts off with the other guy and moves across.
Yeah.
So it looks to me like it's zonal marking. The 3 centre-halves are at the back of where the ball is likely to go. So they're kind of towards the back post. And they're miles away from the number 1 threat, which is Luke de Jong. And that goal, by the way, kills Rangers.
It does.
Because at that point, the momentum is switching. The crowd are going, oh, God, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So that's a crucial goal. The fourth goal, again, I would say, I'd go back to what I said about the first goal. I think that's nice play, sharp interchange, good finish by Joey Veerman, who's a very good player, we know, despite the fact he's a bit of a unlikable bugger. But it's good play. So I would give them first and the fourth as reasonable. And then the last goal we know is just, calamity.
Stuff.
Yeah. So I've defended Michael Beale, I've defended the players, but those are basic errors. And we can't say that Butland, by the way, didn't have an absolute worldie of a game. What are we talking, 9 out of 10 on the man he's here? How many saves did he make, Derek?
Well,
5, 6?
He avoided a Liverpool-style doing last night. I mean, it was already a thrashing, but without Jack Butland, I shudder to think what the scoreline would have been.
Yeah.
So just talking about that, Jonny, you mentioned there a number of new signings have come in, 9. We are expecting more, of course. Butland, for me, is the only one at this point you're thinking this is a very good acquisition. The rest, jury is very much out, would you say?
Sorry, I've still got a bit of a cough. Yeah, I would absolutely, Derek. And you know what? I'm not that concerned about a lot of the signings outside of the front three, but I'm now finding that there's more and more questions to be asked about those front three.
Yes.
I think Dessers will be okay over the season, Derek. I don't think he's a world beater. I don't think he's a big improvement over Alfredo Morelos, but he's a big strapping lad. I think he's got a decent way of holding on to the ball. I think he backs in with his bum quite effectively. We saw that he's capable of playing a pass in the first game against PSV, and I think he knows the way to goal, despite the fact he was pretty poor in front of goal against Ross County. I don't think he's going to be awful, but I don't think he's going to be great. I think he'll be fine. Danilo, I don't know what's going on there, Derek. I've seen almost nothing from Danilo so far. I'm concerned about Scottish football and the physicality, and how he's going to take to that. And I'm not seeing in the flashes of play that he's had too much evidence of why he should be in that team ahead of anyone else. That's worrying when you go and spend that kind of money on a player. And he needs to improve, and he needs to improve sharpish. Lammers, I think, is a technically good player.
Thought he was good last night with some good touches. I think you could see what he can bring. It's just finding the best position, I think, for him.
Yeah, it's finding the best position for him and finding a way to get him into the team. Does he look like a number 9? Don't think so. Does he look like a number 10? Time will tell. Maybe this is the problem that Sam Lammers has had in his career. Sort of, he's a kind of hybrid player. You think that sounds like a good idea, and then you get him in and you go, where does he really fit? You don't want to be too harsh on these lads. It's early, but it's also safe to say that I don't think anyone is tearing the heather out of the ground, are they?
No, they are not. Right, let's get to a few of the questions coming, a few comments coming in, because there is loads of them. Just in the game last night, Graham Corkin said before the first leg, PSV were electric. Personally, I think Beale got it wrong. He said as much, but on the Thursday Cup and that mob at the weekend. Denzel raises a point. A problem is we're expecting £4 million players to play like £40 million players. This level is beyond us as long as the Scottish League stays the same. Yeah, there's no denying PSV are a step above, and if Rangers did make the group stage, and don't get me wrong, we'd have been absolutely delighted if they managed to get a result last night. They would be seriously up against it in the Champions League. Having said that, Jonny, I'm looking at the teams in the Europa League, and it's almost like a mini Champions League, and we could get Liverpool again. You could get Ajax are in there. Some teams, I think the level has just improved in the last year or so.
Yes, but, and here's the thing, people are quoting all these teams that are in the Europa League. The truth is about the Europa League, you'd be very unlucky to get a group stage that was just full of that kind of quality. And it won't happen. Whereas we saw the Champions League, you could end up with a group. Celtic could be in a group with Man City, Real Madrid, and AC Milan. It could be Man City, Real Madrid, AC Milan, Celtic. So we need to get real. The Europa League's not going to be like that. You might end up with a team you really don't want. Liverpool, based on last season, that would not be one that would be an attractive draw, I don't think.
No.
But outside of that, I think there'll be enough competition in Europa League that it'll be fine. Of course, there's good teams there. Of course, it'll be a massive challenge. But I think realistically, you know that this Rangers team is going to be better in 2 months' time.
I hope so.
Derek, do you look back now and think maybe there was a sort of a lack of realism about the level of everyone wanted this changeover, you know? Yeah. Everyone said it needs to be a full rebuild. And that's what the Rangers board and that's what Michael Beale's provided. But I think perhaps getting lost in the sort of excitement of all the signings, people didn't really think about that teams need to gel together. They need to understand what their teammates are going to do. They need to get a sense of what each player can provide and where they can play. And one of the things like Michael Beale's done when he's built this squad, and this will either be proved to be right or it'll be proved to be wrong. He's done the opposite of what Ange Postecoglou did when he was at Celtic, where he brought in players to fit a system. I think Michael Beale is looking to get players to fit multiple systems. And you're already seeing he's not married to one system. He's played three at the back. He's played the diamonds. Last night it was a 4-4-2 or a 4-4-1-1, kind of traditional. There's been a lot of different setups under Beale, and I think he wants options because he understands that there's a lot of different challenges that come when you're a Rangers manager, and he wants to have the options. But it's just looking quite. I'm struggling for the right word, Derek, but it's not looking together yet, is it? It's not melded the way that you would want. And we know that Michael Beale can put together a decent team, because last season, despite the fact that the strikers were misfiring, there was a lot of evidence that there was improvement, especially domestically, over Giovanni van Bronckhorst. This season, you've got to just, I think if you're watching it from a Rangers point of view, you've got to hope that Michael Beale has the chops and he knows what he's doing enough that he'll put it together. People have got to remember this is his second season in management, so Michael Beale's not the finished that article either, and that's important. He's learning too.
Yes, I've seen a lot of comments coming in last night asking, well, not just last night, but since the season started, what is our game plan? What is he trying to do? Chris raises a point. He doesn't know what his best system is. That's why, I don't think he knows what his best team is at this moment in time, which is an issue. Yeah. Just on some of the tactical decisions, Magic Man has kindly donated money to the channel. Thank you very much, buddy. He says, was criminal not making changes at halftime. Thought that was a bit strange. For me, he's a bit reactive, Michael Beale. Jonny, I don't know if this is, like you say, this is just his second year in management. I would like to have seen him being a bit more proactive. They were getting a bit of a hammering the second part of that first half. I don't think Jose Cifuentes, the game was passing him by. He's not a right midfielder. I was amazed he lasted the whole game. He had a bit of a howler in both legs, in all honesty. I would have liked to have seen a bit of stability in there. Perhaps Ryan Jack coming in sooner than he did. But changes at halftime. I know Kenny Miller on the TV said he would have made changes. I think the majority of supporters would have made changes. However, he didn't make changes until Rangers went 2-0 down. Would you have liked to have seen subs earlier?
Well, in retrospect, clearly, you would have. I think Michael Beale kind of believed in the game plan and stuck with it, and that was proven to be incorrect. If you look at the way the game flowed, I still think, Derek, for all the criticisms we've levelled at Rangers, that third goal and the timing of that third goal, 91 seconds after Rangers have a really good spell, start to look more dangerous, score the goal via Tavernier, 91 seconds later, you've not even given the stadium a chance to get on top of the home side, you know?
Yeah.
A wee bit of nerves. You could hear it. The noise levels went down. And then the whole thing was absolutely punctured from a Rangers point of view. And at that point, 5-1, you look at that scoreline, you think it's been a thrashing, but I do think a lot of that is Rangers saying, right, we need to go for broke. Rabbi Matondo, who I thought actually was pretty good actually overall in the game.
Yeah.
Continued his recent decent form and a wonderful bit of skill, is a drag over the top of the ball, and unlucky to hit the post because the keeper was nowhere near that shot. So Rangers started to be a bit more threatening when they were throwing more men forward. But you see what happens to you at the back when you do that. The other negative, I suppose, from the game, Derek, looking at it, I think there's a lot of people in the comments that will tell us that we're wrong, but I think Borna Barisic just had a really solid start to the season. It's clear that's going to be not a short-term injury.
No.
And he's going to miss out on the game on Sunday.
Yeah.
Who plays left back now? Because, as I say, in a team where stability hasn't been forthcoming because of all the changes, because of all these guys coming in, that defence is now going to undergo another change. And that's a defence that's not functioning very well. John Souttar, for me, Derek, has been getting a lot of praise, and rightly so, for some of his play. But I think he's a player that's always got one mistake a game in him.
Yeah.
And at the SPFL level, you can absolutely get away with that. But against the likes of PSV, you just don't. They punish you. And I still see that John Souttar mistake in SPFL games, and I think it's actually been punished at times in SPFL games. And that's something that has to be sorted in terms of his game. Hopefully, he'll add that. But if he's going to move to the next level and be a really effective Rangers centre-half, I think he'll have to do that. I think now I'm really convinced that Rangers could do with a left-sided centre-back coming in that's a first-team starter to try and help solidify that. I think the other thing that's important in all this, as well as Tav has started the season in terms of goals, I think you look at Tav and Connor Goldson, Derek. I don't know what their ages are now. I think, is it Tav 31, Connor Goldson 30?
I think Tav's 32 this year at some point.
Yeah, 32 this year. I think he's still 31 though.
Yeah, he is.
These are guys who have done very well for Rangers over the period. I won't have anyone tell me otherwise. James Tavernier's numbers are incredible, and Connor Goldson, when he's not there, you see what you're missing. But I think it's fair to say they are now at an age where they are likely to be on a downward slope. You know, I don't think you're going to see the best of Connor Goldson in the years ahead, or the best of James Tavernier. If they can continue at the level they've been playing at, they'll be doing very, very well. So that's something I think is going to have to be addressed next season, certainly the season after that. The reliance on James Tavernier for goals is incredible.
Yeah.
And when you've got a phenom like that in your team, in terms of his goal scoring, then of course it's fantastic. But Rangers are just too reliant on it, Derek. And already this season they're reliant on it. I mean, how many goals has he got now? I mean, that's
I know.
You know,
it's two, isn't it? I mean, he scored a belter at the weekend, and the goal last night. How many times have we seen him appearing late at the back post to nip in? So I think that was 20 European goals he scored now, which is insane.
I think it's more than that now. I think it's more than that. I think maybe 21. But there's a little bit of this debate about the actual goal tally. I think it's different stat sites have different amounts. So yeah, we'll see. I always love this, Derek. The comments, whenever I praise Tavernier and Goldson, it's always inevitably some people coming on going absolutely mad in the comments, which cracks me up. Guys, I've heard it all before. I know some of you don't rate these guys. We have difference of opinion on that. But all I would say is deny Tavernier's numbers all you want, and deny that Rangers didn't fall apart when Connor Goldson went out last season injured after the Liverpool game, and they didn't improve when he came back.
But yeah,
you're not going to go out and replace those guys, you know, in a transfer window like this. Those are the ones you had to keep.
Yeah. We'll delve deeper into the defensive side of things in a wee minute, just on who will play left back on Sunday. Lots of different suggestions. Comment here, Adam Devine is the only shout. There's a comment.
Going to be Sterling.
Yeah.
It's going to be Sterling.
Well, yeah, that's what Alistair Wilkie and many others saying. Sterling will start at left back. Gordon Bain with saying Yefeko at left back for the Old Firm. Yeah, he's came in. Of course, he played against Morton, didn't he? Started against Morton, Jonny Lefeko. But yeah, I'd imagine it will be Dujon Sterling coming in at left back. Ian Ross just deviating slightly away, just back to the Europa League. What pot are we in, guys? It depends if Ajax and Dinamo Zagreb win their games. Rangers will be in pot 2. If one of them fail to get through to the group stage, then Rangers will be in pot 1 in the Europa League. So hopefully that clears that up. Ian, the draw, incidentally, taking place on Friday. The Champions League draw takes place today, I believe, this afternoon sometime. But Rangers in the Europa League draw on Friday. Jonny, we've got a big show coming up on Friday. It's the transfer deadline. approaches on Friday night. The window slams shut, so we'll be doing a marathon show, folks. We hope you can join us for that on Friday night. Rangers need reinforcements in defence, Johnny. You said it yourself. A left-sided centre-back is a position that the Rangers have been rumoured to be interested in strengthening all window, really. As much as they've brought in strikers and forwards that haven't really set the hell alight, they've not really touched the defence apart from the goalkeeper. They need to bring at least one player in, a centre-back, I think. Do they need to bring any more, do you reckon?
Well, I think we'd all like to see a winger that would come in and be a genuine replacement for Ryan Kent. I think the manager's talked about that himself. And a left-sided centre-back. It's an absolute must now, it really is. Rangers have been found wanting too often to keep defending the current setup. Now, I think it's impossible that Rangers could win the league with the defenders that they have? No, because I think in terms of like going up against the SPFL clubs, if you're looking at Balogun, if you're looking at Goldson, if you're looking at John Souttar, if you're looking at Ben Davies, they're fine for that. But if you want to make the next move, if you want to be solid in the Europa League, I think it needs refreshed. It needs a young, hungry, aggressive, left-sided centre-back that can come in and really form a strong partnership with either Connor Goldson or John Souttar in there. How much that'll cost? Well, that's another story, Derek. As we know, these guys come at a premium because left-sided centre-backs, they are very, very much in demand. People want to have balance between their two centre-backs. We all remember playing Football Manager and Championship Manager, Derek. You always wanted a left-sided centre-back on the left side. And
well, you've got one there already in Ben Davies. Can you foresee him still being at the club after Friday, Johnny?
Who?
Ben Davies.
Listen, the soundings that we're taking from people close to the player has not changed since the start of the summer. And that is Ben Davies is happy at Rangers. He's happy in the city. I think he's got family members that are from Scotland and from Glasgow, and he's on a good salary, Derek. So if someone was to come in, they need to be able to prize him away and offer him something that's very attractive. Now, Stoke has been mentioned, and I think that we understand that that's accurate. There has been interest, and
the
Stoke manager would like to take Ben Davies down there. But I think the feeling is that that's not going to probably happen. But the transfer window can always throw up surprises. There can always be teams that go out and get desperate and say, we're going to push the boat out to get this boy in to make him really want to come here. And that, of course, could happen. But I would say, based on what we're hearing from good sources, I would say it's unlikely.
Just on Davis, I'm getting slaughtered by Ian McPhee. Derek, talk sense. Ben Davis, no chance. I'm not saying he's the answer, incidentally. As I mentioned, I'd be surprised if he was still part of the squad. The mood music around him is that he will be leaving at some point in this transfer window, but he is a left-sided centre-back. Rangers don't have any at this point in time.
To be fair, Eric, on that, Ewan's done a lot of good reporting around Ben Davies, and there's other people who've been saying, Ben Davies will go, and Ewan's always been saying, this line that I've just repeated to you. I'm basically representing Ewan's information, because it's him that's been doing the excellent work around it. And I think up till now that's proven to be the case, and we don't expect that to change. But anything can happen in a transfer window. You obviously never say never.
Yeah, Denzel raising the point on Davis as well, says that the problem is that a minority of players seem not happy not to play. Surely Davis would rather leave and play every week. So yeah, one to keep an eye on with just under 40 hours to go until the transfer window closes. I think Rangers do need to look at bringing in reinforcements, not only in the centre-back position, but as Johnny said, they're looking for a replacement for Ryan Kent. Could Matondo not be that answer, Johnny? You're still looking for one more in that position? I thought he was okay last night. I mean, you're struggling. You were flooded by the PSV midfield at times, but as I mentioned, second half you had a great bit of skill, unlucky to hit the post. He has been given an opportunity over on that left-hand side. I know he's moved out to the right in the second half as well, but we'd like to see one more sort of attack-minded player there.
Derek, I've got to be honest about this. There's one player that I would like to see at Ibrox right now, but it makes no sense, right? And a lot of people will disagree with me. So should I say it? Should I not?
Here we go. Just say it.
This guy, Derek H, totally messed up not getting Lewis, Ferguson, Nisbet and Doig. A fraction of what we have now spent. I totally agree with that. And for all I think John Souttar's got flaws, I think he was an excellent signing. On a free transfer, Scottish, can improve. And I think a lot of people have been impressed by what John Souttar said. And there would have been a lot of naysayers at the time who would have said, oh, John Souttar's not good enough. He's playing for Hearts. He's not good enough. I think too often we dismiss players in our own league. And I would use the example of Lawrence Shankland. To me, I've watched him now a lot this season. Been doing a little bit of stuff with Hearts. So I've been watching a lot more of him than I'm so impressed with him. I've always thought he was a good player. I've always thought he was good enough to play as a squad player for Rangers. And I think Lawrence Shankland would have guaranteed you goals immediately in domestic games. He's a terrific finisher. He's also underrated in what he can do outside the box, Derek. He links play well. I think he would be quite expensive. There's no doubt about that. But for me, Rangers were a bit... I think they were a bit unwise in doing what they did, which was to go and get players that were not at all... They had no experience of Scottish football. So someone like Danilo, Dessers, Sima, all these front players that have been brought in, history tells us that some players just don't adapt well. So I would have liked to have seen maybe two of those three, plus a Lawrence Shankland or a Kevin Nisbet. Now, I talked about this all last year. This is nothing new. I just feel like I'll look at those strikers and I'm like, I don't see the guy that's scoring 25 goals, and I'm pretty certain that Lawrence Shankland would score 25 goals for Rangers. That's my point on it.
Yeah,
and in terms of wide players, I think that's a fair point that you make about Rabi Matondo, Derek. If you've got Matondo and Sima, you're probably doing okay there in terms of wide players, because Rangers don't tend to play with wide players.
Well, that's a point I was going to raise. Is Alex Kelly raises a point. Jonny, can you explain the benefits of Beale's tactics? I'm mystified. To play so narrow and give up both flanks is suicidal. Rangers need width, Jonny. I remain to be convinced about Abdallah Sima. I know he scored a belter against PSV. Prior to that, he had a bit of a stinker, in all honesty, at Ibrox. But I remain to be convinced about him. Rangers need width, though, for me. This playing narrow didn't work last night, did it?
Remember, Steven Gerrard did this for seasons, and it was very successful. He you saw PSV were getting a lot of success when they played the ball from one side of the pitch to the other in these sort of cross-field passes, and that was always the way to sort of cause problems for Steven Gerrard's Rangers. So I think Beale was kind of trying to get back to that in a way and be really solid in the centre, but give up some space and say, well, if they cross the ball in or if they cut it back, then we've got the players there. If they follow their roles and if they do their jobs, they can either head it away or cut the ball out.
Yeah.
I think Rangers have lost a lot of goals by cutbacks, Derek, in the last 18 months.
Lost count, yeah.
You think in big games, cutbacks, always.
Yeah.
And they need to look at why that's happening. What is the consistent factor in these goals that they're losing from cutbacks? Because Celtic have done it so many times under Postecoglou, and you've seen it in European games as well. I know part of that is because teams are playing with more players in the half spaces, so you're getting more runs into that area, and then cutbacks are probably more dangerous than crosses, because we know that headers are less likely to result in goals. So it's almost like the mathematicians taking over football, and they're saying cut the ball back sharp and hard, and there's more chance of scoring a goal. And in the past, you would get a top class winger like a Peter Houstra or a Brian Laudrup going to the byline and then chipping the ball in.
Most of the
I
days.
don't think that's happening quite so much nowadays, although you saw a good example of it last night with Saibari's goal for the first one.
Is that you finished? I thought you were going
I've finished. That's me done. Right, I feel like I've been on too many monologues, so I was just going to cut that one short. I'm actually amazed by the amount of positivity about that Shanklin call. I thought I was going to get slaughtered.
You're getting a lot of support about that, Jonny. I think it's also no coincidence that the Rangers frontline, the players that have been brought in, have failed to really show why such sums of cash has been spent on them. Big day, a big game for them on Sunday. It remains to be seen who will be given the nod. I know we'll discuss this a bit tomorrow as well. For me, Jonny, Kemar Roofe gets the nod for me. He's one of the first names in the team sheet on Sunday.
Well, I don't know if there's many people who would disagree with that, but I'm certainly not one of them. I 100% agree. I still think Kemar Roofe is the best striker in the squad.
Yep.
He's certainly the one that you can say is going to hit the net in Scotland, guaranteed.
Yep.
I don't know if Michael Beale's already thinking, is it Dessers and Roofe rather than Roofe and Danilo are going to be that front two for him? I don't know. But Kemar Roofe has got to play. We know he can score against Celtic. We know he can produce a spectacular. We know he's intelligent. The only thing about Kemar Roofe is making sure he's fit.
Yeah.
And I think he can really cause Celtic problems. I don't even know, Derek, and I suppose this speaks to a lot of comments that we're getting in about Michael Beale's style and how he wants to play. I've not even the first clue about how he's going to go at this game against Celtic. I suspect he might be a bit more cautious.
It has to be aggressive, surely. Has to be.
Yeah. I would like to see him being really aggressive. But Celtic are massively dangerous on transition. If you look at the way Rodgers has changed the way they play, he's almost, it feels like he's been influenced by what he did at Leicester with Jamie Vardy, which was, they were always kind of looking for the ball over the top to Vardy. They were always trying to engineer that situation. And it felt like in the games that I watched at the start of the season, they were trying to do the same thing with Davies and Maeda. Kyogo's coming deep, but he's also capable, as we know, of going over the top. And I think if you come really aggressive, really front foot, you could get picked off by Celtic because they have that quality. I think what we'll probably see, and people might not like this, and I might be wrong, and maybe hopefully I am, but I think you'll see a kind of mid-block Rangers looking to be smart in the way they go forwards. And I think it'll be a close game. Bit of cat and mouse, and whoever transitions better will probably win the game.
Yeah,
I know everyone wants to see them go gung-ho, but I think that'll be exactly what Rodgers wants. And he'll probably set up with that in mind, knowing that Rangers have had a bad result, and there'll be the ability to just spring over the top of them. So I would definitely expect Kyogo and Maeda to play and cause us a few problems in terms of that outball.
Yeah, I would like to see them going at them from the off. I think they need to win on Sunday, just to set a marker down. Not only that, but obviously we're going into the international break. Rangers are already 3 points behind, given 2 points behind now, isn't it? After Celtic dropped points at home to St Johnstone, which was a nice surprise last weekend. But yeah, huge game coming up.
Just a point.
Just a point. Is that right?
Yeah, just a point. Celtic are a point ahead.
Right, okay, so there you go. So, yeah, hopefully Rangers can emerge victorious on Sunday, but I can understand mega concerns after what we witnessed in Eindhoven last night. Folks, just a reminder, we will be back not only tomorrow morning, looking ahead to that game, but we'll also have the transfer special kicking off at 9 p.m. tomorrow night, a 3-hour marathon show. We hope you can join us for it as the transfer window nears a conclusion. Will there be a flurry of activity at Ibrox? I'm sure that many will be hoping that is the case. Thanks to Jonny for joining us, and thanks to everyone for interacting with the show as ever. It's greatly appreciated, and we'll speak to you again tomorrow. Bye.